It's officially hurricane season, but depending on what network you watch, you're either hanging on by the edge of your seat or just going about enjoying your summer. You got CNN and MSNBC out there with headlines like this. The forecast is in. Hurricane season is going to be active again. America's weather and disaster agencies are in turmoil. And others saying, as hurricane season begins, Trump's FEMA's chief once again fails to inspire confidence. Well, he didn't even know it was the beginning of hurricane season. And even local meteorologists are biting at these headlines and using their airtime on TV instead of predicting the weather in local areas to criticize Trump's budget cuts.
The cuts, the gutting, the sledgehammer attack on science in general, and I could talk about that for a long, long time. But what you need to do is call your representatives and make sure that these cuts are stopped.
Dude, just tell me if it's going to rain on my commute. Shut up, okay? Last year, the predictions for hurricane season were not so accurate when they were fully funded either. Never mind their total lack of response after the hurricane hit. Ask anybody in North Carolina. I mean, like, what industry can you, like that guy right there, who's never going to be invited to my birthday party, what industry can you be that wrong and keep your job other than Congress? Axios had to say, quote, the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season keeps underperforming expectations. I mean, tell that to the people in North Carolina, okay? Don't even get me started on predicting the path. Those things go, you've seen those models? They go like 900 different ways, and they just pick the one that's closest and say, oh, we predicted it. Yeah, 900 others were wrong. What about Hurricane Beryl in July last year? That path made an unexpected turn. They were like, it's going to head here, and then it totally went 90 degrees in the other direction. Look, if Trump were the president then, imagine the outrage. Chris Martz, meteorologist and policy analyst, assistant for CFACT. You're also known as the anti-Greta Thunberg. Look, man, they're always trying to pin the bad weather on Trump, the good weather on the libs.
Absolutely. It's kind of nauseating as a meteorologist to see people blame Trump for everything that goes wrong. It's just anti-scientific, has no merit with reality.
Yeah, but it's not only hurricane season, they're summer, like it's supposed to be hot, but you've got USA Today saying like summer 2025 forecast calls for overwhelmingly above normal heat starting in June. The AP writes, half the world's population endured extra month of extreme heat due to climate change. Like, I want you to put this picture up real quick, all right? It was 37, that is one of my trail cams up at my farm, okay? I know it's blocked by the banner. It was 37 degrees this morning at my farm in Connecticut in June.
Wow, that's a little chilly.
So much for global warming, right?
Yeah, well, you look at the number of hot days in the United States, and we can look at the United States Historical Climatology Network data going back to 1895. And I've created a plot of this before, and it shows that the number of extremely hot days above 95 degrees, 100 degrees, 105 degrees have decreased steadily over the last 100 years. And in fact, the number of days at or above 95 degrees in the lower 48 was about 18% lower during the 60-year period, 1961 to 2020, than during the first half of the 20th century, 1901 to 1960.
Well, Chris, how could that be, Chris? Because we were told by the Greta Thunberg lady that the world was going to end, I think, what was it, last year from heat?
We're always 10 years away from the end of the world, according to a lot of these climate alarmists, and they kick the can down the road every 10 years. Every time that their prediction fails to come to fruition, it's really funny to watch. But yeah, yes, the planet overall has gotten warmer since 1850, by a degree and some change. But the extreme heat events, the heat waves that we see during the summer, they occur every year. And those heat waves, how they form is due to these deep ridges of high pressure that form in the lower atmosphere, and they compress the air and warm it, and it creates these prolonged heat events. And how those, the frequency of those, how they change with a warmer climate is really unknown, and how the jet stream circulation changes with that. So it's a very, those heat events are extreme. They're not affected all that much by a little change in the average temperature. They're extreme events. They're a characteristic of natural variability.
Well, Chris, this sounds like an awful lot of science-based analysis here, which I don't think our friends on the left do a lot of. But we do appreciate you, bringing us back to reality and saying the world's not ending next year. Chris Martz, we appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right. How does